Hey guys, Mustached Tom here to review the movie Wake Up Dead Man, Knives Out. So, obviously this is part of the Knives Out trilogy now at this juncture, with a new mystery on our hands. I don't remember seeing the trailer for this one too much, honestly. There wasn't a lot of prep on this one in terms of me watching it. I just happened to come across it, so here we are. So, Wake Up Dead Man is, again, the third in the Knives Out trilogy. We begin the movie following a priest named Judd. Judd is this boxer who, once upon a time boxer, who has given up the boxing ways to find a way through religion to live out his life. We cut to Martha, who does a lot of the work, and are told of this story of this whore who got her revenge on this priest character, this other priest character, and died later in the process of this vendetta. But during one of the sermons, the main priest that we are currently following, named Wicks, is having said one of the sermons, ends up in a box and is killed. And thus we go over our set of suspects: Vera, Derek, this politic guy, Ned, Lee. Those are the names I was able to pull from the movie itself. And so we learn that the main character actually killed somebody himself in the ring, which is what led him to a way to this, to find God, to seek forgiveness, as one might. So, one text, because the whole lot of the group is all bunched up, but one text sends them all away. We learned some interesting little bits of intel from Wicks himself. He doesn't view women in high regard by any which way. And he wants to, surprise, surprise, use religion as a war mechanism, to wage war against people outside of, Christianity. Which it does seem to be, of the religious people I have seen out making content, it does seem like that is explicitly what they do, is wage war. They use their words and their most deadly weapon of all, which is plausible deniability. You see. That's a stab and a half. If you know, you know. But during one of these concessions where the Wicks is going about, he ends up in this box and is killed via knife. So everyone is seen as suspect, including, and not limited to, of course, the character we are following, Judd himself. And it is here, after a pretty sizable opening of not having our detective, Blanc, enters the scene. So he's now on board. He goes over the possible methods used in killing the priest in the box. from either inside, outside, or timing zones and whatnot. So there were like 3 or 4 ways this could have potentially happened, and they whittled them down, finding this remote control. And they try to time it because like this noise that happens or something, or this like interference that happens. So they try to time it with like this other event that just so happened to be happening, which is like this sports game or something. Unfortunately, it does not seem to provide any meaningful answer. So obviously, Judd is, still proclaimed as the murderer. So he's like, Blanc is trying to get him to explain more what happened. And he begins to elicit the help of one other police officer throughout this journey later on. So the movie does have these 2 suspects. The lady we see in the beginning, she comes back pretty consistently. There's only one other character that really does so I feel like once again we are in this troubled time of the reveal not being quite as impactful, or like, the whodunit part seems to be the weakest element here. I mean, she does control a large portion of the scenes that she keeps showing up in, and that only continues to raise suspicion and figures she ends up being the one. Spoiler alert, I guess. Like, I don't even know why I need to say that, but I'll say it after, because I feel like that's not even, like... Again, the reveal is like, well, yeah, it didn't seem like anybody else was even close to, like, trying to snoop in, trying to make things get harder, right? But she keeps popping up, so it's like, oh, right, that kind of makes that whole bit work out. Anyway. So, it is revealed that Wicks had a son who is the politician, and Wicks had dirt on all of them, on all the bits and bobs that they have gotten up to, and he wanted to be the one, isolated him against the world, and using religion as his zealot-like passion, his way of getting back before having had died. But of course, with this being a Rian Johnson movie, I figured that I'd at least mention that they do make a reference to Star Wars somewhere in this movie, around this juncture. And it's like, oh, you just want people to talk about that movie, Rian Johnson, again, don't you? Do you? It seems like you do, if you're the one bringing it up now. It's like, it seems like he's like jabbing at the people who have been rightfully so calling out Star Wars. I don't know. So yeah, it seems like a bit of a weird one in terms of reference humor. Unfortunately for our main pal, Judd, the timing doesn't work in his favor either, and the police are actually whittling down on that intel about how he could have also just, again, still been the killer. Now, I suppose this is, like, the actual, like, twist, is that Wicks isn't actually even dead at this point in the movie. He was never even killed yet. In fact, he is brought back, and Judd eventually sees this. But he is not the only casualty later on. In fact, the doctor, played by Jenny Reiner, is also killed in the tub via acid. So yeah, it is here where a little Chase gives in. He's knocked out. When he awakens, he's like, oh, he feels now responsible, feeling like there's no other way other than to admit the truth. Blanc has already done a lot more than alludes to, as per usual on these sorts of things. And he even allows others to mock him, like the politician guy, because he's like a podcaster as well. So he allows that to happen, and almost like, and then he's like, oh, and he's like speaking loudly, and then the real killer, the lady I had mentioned earlier, walks back in and admits to her sins to the Judd the priest. So, once in revealing this, with everyone else getting their little, like, semblance of escape and other bits and bobs, she ends up dying too, due to poisoning herself. So we see all the little bits and bobs, the red knife that was used in the bar, in the picture he was looking at, and the Judd picked out the like this little briefcase or this little purse that was on the ground instead. The other clues that were pretty much leading to an already given conclusion that, well, this was actually a fake out up until a certain point. So yeah, it's pretty clear that I suppose it's more of a fake out until it's not. That's the actual only twist in this movie, not who the killer is. Again, there's no red herring in this movie. You would think that you've had 2 movies now. You know, I can't remember how good or bad the first movie was. The second movie has been rung over from initially being seen as good and then it falling apart later on, and now we have this. And you would figure you would start to figure out something a little bit punchier in terms of like having, you know, a little bit more of that mystery aspect to it, the little bits and bobs of that nature. But of course, this is also a comedy mystery, question mark? Or more, I don't know if I would necessarily even say comedy. It feels like it's almost purposefully political, in terms of like what it's trying to be. I guess I don't technically have an issue with that, because it does seem to be pretty much overt in all 3 movies, I think, if I remember the first 2 correctly. That does come up in the first 2 movies as well, politics and whatnot. So yeah, like, there's that. The religious angle is kept interesting, I suppose. And, you know, it criticizes religion for its obvious faults, but it shows that Judd is still gonna be the, you know, priest, and Blanc, he did all of that bit at the end to sort of like be like, no, I'm gonna allow the killer, because he kind of comes to that conclusion, like, there is a sense of not only just character development, but as well as just, you know, letting the religious part kind of, like, take its toll, as it were. And it does so. So it's like, yeah, it is criticizing religious, innovations, rightfully so, I would argue. But it's also like, religion has its good moments. So I think there is a interesting balance in that regard. It's not just all religion is bad. I don't think that's necessarily the case, especially considering how the movie ends. In this one here time jump, where we do see, as I mentioned, how the other people who were, weren't involved, not in the killing, obviously, how they either moved on and so on and so forth, how they've grown, or all these other things. And again, including Judd, who gets to be an official priest at this juncture of the movie, and of course Blanc makes his way and leaves. As he still finds himself, despite respecting religion a lot more, still choosing not to be religious, which I feel is a really interesting distinction in terms of an arc, as it were. So the movie definitely has its own pair of issues in terms of, like, how deep is the mystery, how many clues are there in terms of, like, what can you as the audience pick out. Where are the red herrings? They don't seem to even exist in this movie either. At least the fake out was interesting, so I'll give the movie that, I suppose, of him not being dead at that moment. And outside of that, the killer is still way too obvious. Which is an unfortunate side effect of this writing, is that, like, okay, so now you have had two movies where it's been way too long. I actually don't remember, like, who the killer of the first movie was, and how. I'm pretty sure it was obvious, in that one too, maybe, if I remember correctly. I don't know. I don't remember, at this point. Anyway, so, in terms of the score, man, this one's rough. This is like a 5 or a 6 out of 10. I would probably push for a 6, because there is work here. There is, like, character arcs, and there's stuff that's working here. The issues are just falling on the other part of the genre, which I would argue is probably the bigger part, which would be the mystery of it, right? That's the part that has been consistently struggling in this mystery series. This political mystery series, I guess, is like the other part of it, if it's not a comedy mystery. Again, I'm not sure what the genre cut of that would necessarily look like, but regardless, either way, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't change my score. It's still going to be like a 6 out of 10 at most. And yeah, that's where I land on Wake Up Dead Man, Knives Out. And that's my review. So if you ended up enjoying this review, then please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also make sure to check out those links in the description. One will head you over to my petition about small YouTubers, second to my PayPal, where you can help support me and my channel directly, and third to my Discord server. You can join, collab, shield, do all that cool stuff for free. And until next time, everyone, bye-bye.